Good morning, good morning. My name is Rosie K. Thompson and I am the owner of RKT-LIFE Purpose Coaching. I'm coming to you today to talk to you about self-sabotaging. That's a word that was put in my heart to speak about a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just now getting before you to speak about self-sabotaging. But since it came into my heart a couple of weeks ago, I've been seeing the word sabotage here and there. And self-sabotaging, we may not truly understand the effects of that or know why we even do that or what does that mean. So I'm going to give you a few keys here and a few clues to understand what the self-sabotaging, what that means and how it looks, and then how it debilitates oneself from being able to move forward and just to have a sense of a better outcome in certain situations that we don't have any understanding about. In the description, I did give a few listings of self-sabotage, and I also listed my website. And on the website, you can go there and you can visit me to understand more about who I am and what I do and what I present. I am a life purpose coach. I do content creation. I am a mentor. I do personal sessions virtually via phone and virtual for females only, teens and women in the United States. And so I'm also a self-published author of 4 times. All of my material can be found at barnesandnobles.com online ordering, as well as Amazon. And you can be able to see that on my website as well. So if you want to know more about me and what I present to the communities, to colleges, universities, the school systems, different levels of education system, individuals, institutions, what have you. I do speaking engagements, podcasts. I just do a different number of things, and I'm honored to be able to do so and to present these things to you. So as you tune in, feel free to comment, to share the live, however way you feel led to. And I do hope that you are blessed by what I present to you today when it comes to the topic of self-sabotaging. So let's get started, shall we? So self-sabotaging, it is a self-inflicted invasion upon one's own life, okay? Which leads to self-harm, which, by the way, is not a good look upon self. So now let's define that word sabotage. So the word sabotage itself is to deliberately destroy, damage, and to or obstruct something. So you're destroying, you're damaging, or obstructing something. And in this case, upon self. Okay, so a few of the synonyms for the word sabotage would be to wreck, cripple, disrupt, impair, ruin, undermine, and threaten. So when we act upon self-sabotaging moments in our lives, we are wrecking, causing a wreck to happen, something to not have a good outcome in our life. We're causing us to be crippled in life, and to be crippled meaning that we are debilitated. It disrupts something that may that's trying to come into our lives to bring about a shift and a change. It also impairs our lives, and it ruins our lives. It ruins whatever we're trying to be developed and cultivated and created and to become being more of. Okay, and it also, we undermine ourselves, the situation, the outcome that could be productive for us, and then it causes us to be threatened. And when we're threatened, that's when that self-sabotaging comes in, okay? So in essence, self-sabotaging is a self-inflicting coping mechanism of dealing with an unknown outcome. So what happens when we operate and move and walk in self-sabotaging moments is that it's a coping mechanism for us. And so we're afraid of the outcome. We're afraid of the circumstance of what may or what could happen. And then there's just a fear that causes us to feel like we don't deserve. We're not worthy enough. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. So then let me go in here and finagle with it and alter with it and make it to be what I needed or want it to be. And I'll talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like. So it's how we handle situations, and we handle them this way repeatedly in circumstances of our lives that deals with our personal development, and in this case, the lack of development. Because anytime we allow anything that cripples us, that brings a wreckage to us, that disrupts something that's that needs to come our way, that's going to help us and benefit us, it impairs us, it ruins us, and it undermines and it threatens that whole outcome of what can happen. So in this case, it causes us to have a lack of development. Okay, a lack of development, but it's for our own personal development. But we can never develop and develop well if we're constantly sabotaging ourselves and setting ourselves up for self-sabotaging moments. And usually it's in one particular area. It may be in dating. It may be in a job that you apply for. You may, set yourself up to sabotage yourself from not even getting that job or a promotion that you know you deserve, or just anything in life to help you to better yourself in life. But you sabotage the moment by your words, by your actions that you create or keep recreating and reinventing in that particular situation and area of your life to cause ruin, to cause wreckage, to cause you to be crippled, to bring about a threat, a harm, underdevelopment. Okay, so it's yet done out of negativity that's driven by fear. So let's make sure we understand that it's done out of negativity that is driven by fear, okay? And it's just fear of the unknown. And I don't want to say that lightly, because guess what? Fear is real. But the thing about fear is we need to learn how to push past fear. We need to learn how to move past fear. We need to understand where the fear is coming from. And fear is a lack of information. But how do we get that information? Sometimes it's simply walking out in the circumstances in which you're in. It's allowing what needs to happen and unfold without us trying to create or control that narrative of the circumstance situation. And then that way we get a better handle on whatever it is that we keep having confrontations with the fear, which causes us to self-sabotage with what we want to create in the narrative of creating whatever the situation how it unfolds. But if you take a look at it, the circumstances, situations, it always happens the same, very similar, because we stepped in and we wanted to control the narrative instead of allowing things to play out and hoping that it's for our good. And most times it will be if we can get past the self-sabotaging that we do to self-inflict our development and our growth, right? So let's take a notice at the word self and how often it's been used thus far, because this is about self-sabotaging. It's because it's a personal involvement of how self deals with things, we ourselves, how we deal with things in areas involving our lives, as well as the possibilities of other people's lives as it relates to us, right? Okay, because we can do that as well. Okay, it does just not involve and affect us. It can also involve and affect other people, especially when it's something that we keep creating or trying to recreate with other people, but yet we going about it the same way and expecting different results, but we keep getting the same results, and they're sabotaging. Those results are crippling, they ruin, they threaten, they debilitate, they do all of these things. So moving self out the way, it gives you a more realistic outcome. When we move ourselves out the way, it gives us a better outcome than one that we can imagine. Because thus far, what we have imagined, it's been imagined out of fear. It's been imagined out of us controlling the narratives, which is not something we need to keep subjecting ourselves to keep going through, continuously going through, okay? So, self-sabotaging causes the imagination to run wild, and it creates narratives and scenarios that are unimaginable and certainly not favorable. So what happens when we do self-sabotaging? It causes our imaginations to run wild. And what that does and what that looks like is, okay, we're driven from fear. Okay, it's fear-based. So then fear knowledge begins to come in, which is something that we keep doing over and over and over and expect us to have a different outcome. Let's say you're ready to date. Let's say you're ready to get married or what have you. When you meet someone, what do? You go back to old experiences. You go back to old habits and old ways that may have been created from way back in the day. It could be 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. It doesn't matter. But what you do is you relate the right now with the old. And then you begin to move as you did way back then, not understanding that you hopefully are a new person. You have a new mindset, a new perspective, a new idea, gained knowledge and understanding of why things didn't work back then. And perhaps it could have been the person, or perhaps it could have been the timing, perhaps it could have been the situation, perhaps it could have been something lacking within you. But what do? You keep using those old scenarios in the new. So then when it comes to self-sabotaging, that means there's something undeveloped about you in self. And you keep doing things out of fear-based, from past experiences, past hurts, past letdowns, past rejection, just past experiences altogether. And so you got to sit back and you got to figure out, how can I move past the past? Because if we're living in the past, how can I function, or how can we function in the present? Because if we're stuck in the past, there's no way we can be present in the moment to understand that's old. This is now. This is a new situation, a new year, a new day, a new season, a new hour, a new person. I'm a new person. I have gained knowledge. I have gained experience. I have gained wisdom. So guess what? I'm not going to move the way I used to move. I'm not going to act the way I used to act. I'm not going to think the way I used to think. I'm not even going to behave the way that I used to behave. So in other words, you have to start applying these new techniques, the new knowledge, the new understanding, the new awareness of not no one else, but of you to a situation, circumstance. So let's say this. Let's say something may come. It may feel like the old, but what does that have to do with you, the new you? So what do? Don't become a part of the old, even though that may look old, but the new you, you're going to impose a new outcome, a new scenario, a new situation for that moment. That way you don't go back to sabotaging something and you learn to move past. We can never go forward until we take the learned knowledge and apply it now to go forward. And guess what? I don't care what area this may be when it comes to you or anyone that have had past experiences and present experiences with self-sabotaging, using the same techniques over and over, the same words that you may apply to a situation or a circumstance, or even to yourself. Tell yourself certain things. If you don't use the new, and all of us is going to have to face those challenging moments to be able to use the new, underline the new, and put it into action and in view. And then that's how we began to set up different scenarios in our lives. But guess what? They were there all along. But what kept us from them? The fear-based driven scenarios, creating those same narratives. That's what kept us and hindered us, because we kept applying the same techniques. We can't keep applying the same techniques. Those techniques don't work. And certainly if they didn't work, then they'll never work. Why do we want to keep using and picking up things that does not work for us, that does not benefit us, that has been useless to our lives? And so this goes deeper than that too. And see, sometimes we're scared to go deep, to sit with situations, circumstances that have happened, things that we've encountered in life, because of what we feel, how it made us feel. Now, I'm no therapist. I'm no licensed therapist. I am speaking from experience. And then too, as a professional life coach, I'm also a minister, okay? I'm a mentor, but speaking from experience, gain knowledge, and things that I've had to walk through in my life as well. We have to look at things that sometimes have been there all along, and even generationally, and we don't want to look at these things. We don't want to look at them because of perhaps what we don't know, what we think or what we may feel is going to come up. But here's the thing about it. How do we really know? How will we ever know if we don't take a look at it? We spend a whole lot of time trying to address and deal with things that we really do desire to change and want to change. But if I can be honest with you, from past experience in my life, when I looked at things that were there that I didn't want to look at from past, that's when my life began to change. Now listen, I want to encourage some of you. Ain't nothing wrong with counseling. A professional licensed counselor, trained, even Christian counselor. As a Christian, I would want a Christian counselor, okay? I'm just saying, because they can speak more to your situation when it comes to certain knowledge that they've gained, but more so spiritually, Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. But here's what I want to share with you. Now, I didn't get that, but you probably should have. You know, I probably should have. You know, so I encourage you to get that. But here's one thing that I do want to share with you. When I did not spend the time looking at the things that the Holy Spirit would bring to me, and this was years ago, but I was trying to tackle things that was like right there in front of me, man, I went about it the wrong way. When we look at things that God brings to us, He knows we're ready to deal with those things. Because number one, timing. His timing is perfect. There's a way that seems right to man, but unto God, and when it's God, oh, it's perfect. And everything that you will need will be in that moment. And as you do the work, because it does require you to do the work, guess what? Things are going to begin to unfold and to happen, clarity. Things will be broken off of you. Strongholds will be broken. Controlling things will be broken. People that have mistreated you, people that have abused you, people that have counted you out, whatever. Even you've counted yourself out. But when you begin to look at things and not self-sabotage or focus on things that you feel like you need to deal with, when you look at the things that God brings to you, those things that you've been trying your best to overcome, to work out, it will somehow, some way, through God's glory, be worked out. And this is where we get tripped up at as humans when we walk in the flesh and according to the flesh. Do we mean well? Some people, I really believe they do mean well, you know, and they're doing the best that they can. But here's what I want to share with you from experience from myself. It didn't work out for Rosie until I began to do it God's way and in His timing, and how He brought things to me and when He brought it to me, and then what He expected and told me to do with it. And when I did it, the things that were so heavy, you know, and in the moments of right now, like wanted my undivided attention. But when I turned my attention to God and what He said, those things worked themselves out. All right, they became less of a burden. They were no longer burdensome. I didn't have to look at it again. I began to understand my worth, my value. The image of me began to change, which my desires, my heart began to change. My behavior, my words, what I spoke, what I thought, all of these things began to align and began to change. And it wasn't from me looking at what I felt like I needed to continue to look at. It was me looking at the things that I had ignored, that I didn't want to address because of what I felt would come out and come up. And then even what I felt like would probably hurt someone else. And here's the thing about it. Your truth is your truth. And as long as you hide your truth, you are self-sabotaging yourself and everything about you, everything that you were made to be, to become, and who you are. Every essence of you. If you are a male, becoming a man. Because there are some males that have yet to learn how to be men. There are some ladies that have yet to learn how to be a woman. And age does not define being a man, becoming a woman. It happens as you mature. You walk into that. And then you begin to own that. I remember I may have been in my late 20s, maybe, or early 30s. Maybe late 20s or early 30s. Because my transition really, truly began at age 30. Because that's when I let go and let God. I'm 52 years young as of right now. But at age 30, now that doesn't mean I wasn't walking with God before then, or loving God, or getting a relationship with Him and establishing a foundation with Him even before that age. But what I'm saying is, when I really understood, you're going to have to give that to God, Rosie. You're going to have to let that thing go. And Rosie, it doesn't matter who turn against you. It doesn't matter what judgment may come your way. It doesn't matter what lies may come up or come at you. Listen, none of that matters. None of it needed to matter when it's God. You hear me? Because when God brings a matter before you, a situation before you, guess what? That's the only thing you need to be concerned with. Because when God does it, however he does it and chooses to do it, it's going to be better than okay. I promise you it will. So then you don't have to take the weight of that situation, circumstance, that may or may not involve nobody else. But what you don't need to do is involve others in whatever God's bringing to you, because it involves you. And whatever your testimony is that involves you and what God needs to show you him in, you need to let go of everything else, every thought, every notion, anything that would sabotage that moment, that situation, and create you from being free, delivered, and healed, okay? And becoming who God needs you to be. You need to let go of all of that. Let God carry that. He said, I'll make it easy in life for you. And how does he make it easy in life for us? Is when we give it to God. And then we trust God to take up on whatever it is that he's bringing to us. We obey God in our obedience. And we do it swiftly too. Because when we sit and we delay in the obedience that God wants us to obey him in that moment, we're going to wreck a whole lot of things. We're going to cause a whole lot of, what was those words again? Disruption, being crippled, ruined, undermined, and threatened. Okay? To the circumstances, situations, to us, and everything when it comes to what God desires to do in that moment. So this is why we don't need to take that on. We don't need to control the narrative. Let God have all that. He can do it. He's God and God alone. He's the one and only God. So everything that's going to be needed for that time frame and for the rest of your life, in life, living life, not just trying to get through it, but living life the way God wants you to, he got you. He's going to keep you. He's going to cover you, and he's going to comfort you. So here's what I'm saying. We sabotage things because we're living in the old. We're not present where we need to be. The only way we can be present is that we deal with things as God knows that we need to. And we keep working on those things as God leads us to. And so in dealing with things, we don't have to wait on God to understand some things that we know we need to do and we can do better at. We can do them. But certainly, as we've learned and as God continues to bring things to us, keep working at those things. And even when you perfect them, don't think you've arrived to where you have to no longer be perfected more in that. Because I'm going to tell you, the way God perfects us and sharpens us and deals with us, it is on a regular daily basis. Even when we sleep and when we slumber, he does. He does his best work as often as we'll let him. But we're so caught up in right now that we're not going back correcting what needs to be corrected so that we can be present in the moment, and not only present in the moment, but have a better future and better outcome. And this better future and better outcome, it helps us to be better men and women, help us to raise our families better, help us to understand our positions in the world better, on our jobs better, how we can make an impact in the community better, how we can make sure we're going along with the history that's already been wrote by God, to change the things that the world has been doing, that is to null and void, that does not work, hasn't worked, and it's getting worse. I know y'all know that. So listen, I'm not going to be before you long, but I want to talk about the self-sabotage and how we do that, what that looks like. So let me go back a little bit and back up. Take notice of the word self, okay? If we notice the word self and how often it's been used thus far, it's because it's a personal involvement of how self deals with things and areas involving our lives. It's how we've been dealing with them. Not the way God wants us to, but how we have been dealing with them because of circumstances, situations that has a lot to do with our past, as well as the possibilities of others. Because our lives, it does involve others' people's as well as it relates to ours, okay? So moving self out the way, it gives us a more realistic outcome than we can imagine. Self-sabotaging causes the imagination to run wild. And it creates narratives and scenarios that are unimaginable and very, very, very unfavorable. It doesn't work for your good. It's not in your favor. You don't need to keep counting it up. You don't need to keep measuring it up. You don't need to keep playing with it. You don't need to keep entertaining it. You don't even need to keep involving yourself with it. You got to do something totally different than the way you would do in that moment. So awareness is what you need. But who can make us aware of us and the mistakes that we keep making, of what we can do better and how we can do it better? Ideas, unctions, creativeness, insight, revelation. I don't know about you, but the only person that's ever been able to do that for me is the Holy Spirit and God and Jesus and His Word, and however way it's demonstrated in this earth, in my environment, in the atmosphere. Because listen, I don't limit God in how He does things and how He wants to speak, in dreams, in visions, in discernment. No one but God. Okay, no one but God. And so I apply my job, my desire. It's my will to apply the will of God to my life, that His will may be won over in my life, that His desires will become my desires. And listen, I cannot tell you how my desires have changed, how my notions have changed, how my response has changed, how my reactions to situations and circumstances have changed, how my words have changed, how my tongue has changed to speak blessings and not cursings, how when thoughts come that may be of the old, how I know how to know, Rosie, we're not going to go back to that. We don't want to revisit that. That's an era in a time of your life, Rosie, that wasn't pleasant. It wasn't favorable for you. It brought no good thing to you. It produced no good works in you. And matter of fact, it harmed you. It put you in harm's way. And matter of fact, not only you, but even your children and those who were connected to you. And did I mean to do that? Absolutely not. That's why I say there are some of us that we think we're doing good, we desire to do good, but it's the way that unto man that seems right, but it's not. So how do we come away from these things in our lives, these errors in our lives that continuously taint us, that brings void, absence, hurt, more pain, ridicule, judgment? And not just from the people, but from yourself, because we talk about self-sabotaging. But if we are self-sabotaging, then what do you think someone else is going to be able to do? And then if we're self-sabotaging with ourselves, how do you think we treat other people and handle and deal with other people? And then why are we continuously doing this? Because we don't want to deal with what needs to be dealt with. We have to deal with these things. We can't keep ignoring these things, nor can we keep putting these things off, these areas off in our lives. And this is why we see a mass destruction of what we do see. Listen, if it ain't good, it's destructive. If it's not good, it's destructive. But no matter what we're facing and what we're in, if we abide in God and allow Him to abide in us, greater is He that is in us than us being in this world. We are in the world, but not of the world. So then we got to act different from the world. We got to look different. We got to portray our ways differently from the world. We can't go around and be clumped in and lumped in with all kind of stuff. So listen, when we begin to take on the new, we'll understand. So as I wrap up, self steps in to intervene in self-sabotaging. It wants to gain control, supposedly, okay? Because there's no control about self-sabotaging. We're out of control. We're out of line. We're out of order. We're all over the place, which leads to repeated outcomes that certainly, again, is not favorable and never will be. So imagine what could happen without self being in the way. What happens is we develop, and we develop being healed, being whole properly, understanding the ways in which we've walked, we've acted, we've treated people, we've treated ourselves has not been pleasant, has not been right, has not been God's good and perfect will for our lives. We do things differently, and we learn how to do these things differently. But we first must understand, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And in self-sabotaging, we are creating narratives, false outcomes of things that we rightfully should be able to enjoy, should be pleasant, should be pleasing, should be beneficial, should be conducive in the moments, in the time. But we got to stop creating the narratives, trying to be in control, okay? So I hope I've shared something with you all to bless you, encourage you, enlighten you. I don't know if there's anybody on right now, but if you tune in later, or if you're on now, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this live broadcast, share it out, comment, leave a message on my website only. I do not have Facebook Messenger for several reasons, because Facebook Messenger has a whole lot of viruses in it. And then a lot of people send a whole lot of stuff in there that I'm beyond. I don't entertain. And we should not entertain certain things, as a professional individual, someone who's has a destination in mind. And I hope that you do as well. It doesn't mean that my destination supersedes yours. No, it just means that I am about what I need to be about. And I'm constantly learning, what Rosie needs to be about, and how I can be a blessing and be of help to those that I'm to encourage. But I first must learn how to encourage myself, and I must stay the course that I know that is before me. And you do the same. That's why we cannot worry about what we're going to look like, who's going to be offended. Because my desire is not to offend. Even when I didn't know, it was not that. But we can't take that on our shoulders. We can't allow that to weigh on our freedom, on our deliverance. So many people have done that, and it did not turn out well for them, and it never will. The honor, respect, love. Yes, we walk in the fruits of the Spirit, the gifts of God, and God will teach us and show us by His Spirit, His Word, how to do these things. None of us is perfect, but we can be perfected in Him through His love. And that's the thing that Rosie works on daily. And guess what? My working on that doesn't mean I need to work on that with somebody. Because if I can't learn to work it out in the four walls that I'm in with myself, because the Bible says, work out your own salvation and trembling and fear. We want to wait till we get in the presence of people, or wait till we get in the buildings or what have you. No, it doesn't start there. It starts with you and God, and it's going to end with you and God. So if you don't know how to get before God and allow Him to work out the things in you, and then you begin to allow Him to perfect those things, and you begin to apply, work it out. Because you gotta work on your end as well. You have to, but you're worth it. So allow God to work out the goodness of His goodness in you, so that you can show up the way He desires you to show up. Because someone's waiting for you. But you need to be your biggest cheerleader and show up for you first. You hear me? Don't neglect you. Don't put you on the back burner. I don't believe God wants any of us to do that, to put ourselves on the back burner to where we're always constantly going and doing for everybody else, but we never do for us. Or where we're pouring out and we don't even know how to fill up ourselves. You have to be in a state of wholeness. That means mind, spirit, body, soul, and your intellect as well. You got to take care of you. And how do you learn how to do that? Let God show you. And some of you already have certain knowledge. I mean, we were born with common sense, with wisdom from God. And He can give us more. But if we don't apply what we do have and what we know from Him, we can never grow and do better. So thank you for tuning in. And as a reminder, I just want to remind you all that I am a 4-time self-publishing author. All of my material you can purchase online at barnesandnobles.com and amazon.com. And most of the material is just $10. The first one is Movers, Shakers, and Standbyers. Greater Obedience Produces Greater Faith and Trust in God. It comes in e-back and paper book, $10 for the both. Again, both sites. Also in the Norman, Oklahoma City store, you can get all 3 books there off the shelf as well, okay? And then the second book was Movers, Shakers, and Standbyers for little boys and girls all across America. Their land is full of opportunity as well. It comes in hardback. The hardback is available $12.28 on Barnes & Nobles, and then $10 ebook on Amazon.com, okay? And then the third book was Serial Repeat Offender Victims. And this book is $10 as well, e-back and paperback, both sites, Barnes & Nobles and Amazon.com. What did I want to say about this one? Can't remember, but ebook, paperback, you can get them on both sides. And then the last one is the ebook of God Teach Me to Stay Out of Your Way, Sir, the Abraham Blessings, okay? To decree and declare and prophetically pray over you, your life, your business, your ministry, your relationships, friendships, connections, your household, generationally. It's just the generational blessings. The Abraham blessings, they're for us, okay? And so I can't tell you the blessings, the miracles, what God has done for me in my life when it comes to that declaration. That was the latest ebook that I have put out, and it is on the sites as well. So you can be a blessing. We're in the holidays. Thanksgiving just left us, and very thankful and grateful about the Thanksgiving, and then Christmas is upon us. You can gift those books out, not just for the Christmas or gift, anytime, any day of the week, and they're full of a lot of what God has done. Miss Beth, thank you, beautiful, for tuning in. You said, thank you, Rosie. Have a blessed day. You have a blessed, amazing day and rest of the week as well. Happy holidays to you and your family, beautiful, and I pray that all is well and has been well for you, sis. God bless you, beautiful. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. So with that being said, I don't know if anyone else is on the live, but thank you for tuning in as well. You all have an amazing week. And when it comes to self-sabotaging, if you're used to responding a particular way about something out of fear, trying to control the narrative, you're setting up a sabotaging moment, which brings ruin, it impairs and it disrupts the outcome of what God would have for you. It wrecks things, it undermines and it threatens a situation, and even you. Don't do that, okay? So respond differently, okay? So if you feel yourself wanting to go the same way, the old way, then guess what? Halt, stop, pause. Okay, and speak the opposite, do the opposite, or perhaps maybe you're not even supposed to say anything or do anything. Who knows? But that's when you get before God and you let him teach you and show you what he desires for you to do in the moment and in the time, okay, where you would ordinarily do a self-sabotaging setup for yourself, which is not a favorable outcome for you. So with that being said, again, I'm Rosie Thompson with RKT-LIFE Purpose Coaching. You can follow me on my YouTube channel. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, and of course on Facebook and Pinterest, okay? If you find me over there, follow me and I'll follow you back. Have an amazing week and God bless you all. Bye-bye.